welcome back to Open Your Eyes. It is a lovely Wednesday morning in the city. Woof, we're loving it. But we've got wonderful conversations lined up. But before we do that, we want to give our birthday shout out for this morning. Right. And we want to say a big happy birthday to none other than Rihanna Jex and Ibari Elijah Magdaleno. And it comes from the mom and the entire family.
That's right. Ibari is 14 years old today. That's from Mom and the Nestra and the family. So we do hope you enjoy your day today as you get ready to go to school.
That's right. Nestra, good morning as well to you. Very good friend of mine. Side. Wishing you all the very best. Coming from all of us here at Channel 5 and Open Your Eyes. But we need to move on into our show for this morning, and we've got this lovely lady right here in front of us. This conversation will be about time management for productivity. And in with us, we've got Sherlet Neal-Lopez, who is the Managing Director, Belize Institute for Service Excellence, Leadership, and Research. Not a lot of things. Morning!
Good morning. Good morning.
And Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year to you, too. It is indeed a big name, and I've had to say to people, we'll grow into it. Belize Institute for Service Excellence, Leadership, and Research is a recent startup. We've been in operation for a little over 5 months.
Wow.
As a company, and we specialize in training and business development consultancy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, and so we try to put a different spin on training. A lot of organizations say, well, you know, why train our people, because they come back and they do the same thing. We say our trainings also has an M&E component to it.
Excellent.
We train and then we come back and monitor. These are the skill sets that we imparted, and this is what you should be doing at 3 months, at 6 months. So we're coming to check. And it keeps you, you know, accountable. And so that's what we basically do. We want to get to the point where organizations see training as a must. Professional development becomes a buzzword, and they see the direct relationship between growth of their organization and growth of their people. And we're not there yet. We're still seeing training as an investment, no, as a cost, as an add-on, and it really is not. My greatest joy when I offer trainings, because we don't just do it for organizations, we put out trainings out there. And it's when people pay for their own training. Your company sends some, but I look out for the people who say, hey, I'm going to pay for this. I have a lack in this area. You know, this is where I need to be developed. And so it's the field of training is wide open, but it needs to be a high quality training. And we also train what I call train the mind, because I try to help to change the mindset and let people see really where they can be, you know, if they really apply themselves.
You know, a lot of times people think that they only need to know the skill set that's required to execute the job, but it's a lot of the intangibles that need to be mastered.
And so that is one of our models as well. We don't do just soft skills. We believe that there's a combination of the technical skills and the soft skills. You can be a very good public relations person, but maybe you can't write, you can't really put your materials together. So then you're failing in that area, or vice versa. Your customer service rep can be so sweet and musical on the phone and with customers, but when it comes to you know, organizing, where are your stuff, they fail in some managing stuff. It's like they're losing stuff. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, with a smile, of course, but I can't find it, sir, can you check back tomorrow? You know, it really does. So we merge these two. You know, in fact, companies in developed countries are actually now looking at hiring soft skills and then training in the technical areas, right? So these two skills are so compatible. You know, the best employees are those who are able to master both of those skills.
It's so interesting you say that, because I think it was a conversation with Yui a while back when they were talking about ensuring that they integrate lessons in soft skills, emotional intelligence at schools, because what employers are looking for are agreeableness, people who are team players, players, people who can be able to work well with others, because everything else can be trained. Like you can learn to do a program on a computer. YouTube teaches you everything.
That is a fact.
And that's where sometimes we haven't made the shift here. Now, how do you explain to people how important it is to make the commitment to training for these soft skills so that they can see it in their productivity and in their bottom line?
What we do, first of all, because I can offer a wide array of training, but I prefer to go to organization and I say, let's do a training needs analysis. What is it that you're trying to achieve? And these are the skill sets that you need if you really want to achieve that. And that is why we find the monitoring and evaluation so important, because it allows us to go back in and say, hey, you know, see, this is where you were, and as a result of these trainings, this is where we now are. And so we're excited to see where you know, the Institute will go in terms of developing capacity.
And what's the most sought after training right now?
Right now, people are still talking about customer service. But we tend to say, let's package it. Let's do some more of the interpersonal skills, the communication. Definitely time management has become a buzzword as well. Emotional intelligence. My goal this year is to train as many organizations, or I would say are more retrained in ethics management. Ethics has become, you know, we've lost a lot of and ethics is personal, right? And so that is, for me, one of the trainings that I'm pushing more than anything else.
So sure, you know, there are a lot of businesses out there, and some might say, you know what, I've got all the knives I need in this cupboard. I've got all the knives I need on this shelf, and everybody's sharp. But there might be some things that bosses are lacking in. What are we finding right now? I'm sure you've done your research. I'm sure you've done your research. But what are we finding right now that bosses are lacking? It might not necessarily be, you know, the knives and the knives here aren't sharp. They might be, but they're probably not being led properly. How do we
exactly, and that's where the leadership component comes in, because what we're finding is that people are still managing a little too much when they should be leading. The real idea is to grow your people, and then your job becomes so much easier. I always look at managers who are overwhelmed and I say, why? You have all the right people. Motivate them, train them, and watch them soar. Really, there's so much they can do if you just let them do, you know. But we have to understand that, and we have to embrace new concepts that come on board. We're still managing for 1920 when we're in 2020. And so we can't do that.
With a completely different generation.
Exactly. Well, don't even talk about that. That's
if you've ever read the book by Dr. Wessinger, we had him on the show, it is amazing looking at how millennials think so radically different. And I'm guilty, because I used to watch people and say, well, how do you move jobs so easily? But they're looking for something completely different. They want to contribute, and if they bring ideas and they're not listening to you, you lost them. You lost good talent.
That's true.
Just for that reason.
That's a fact. And so one of our trainings that we do as well is looking at that generational gap, right? It's like, how do you communicate across that generational divide? And so leaders, and I say leaders because I don't like the word managers. They need to be more in tune with what's going on today. The fact is, a lot of them don't realize the benefit of getting involved. Most of the time when we do these trainings, the echo would be, I wish my boss was here. You know, and that always resonates with me. You know, so we need to step up our game, and we need to be honest about where we are as leaders, and the fact that we need to continue to grow and learn.
So we're going to get a crash course in time management, but before we get to that, I just wanted to ask, there's a research part to your name. Are you going to look into maybe, because perhaps if we see the data to see the type of leadership styles, or perhaps where we're lacking in certain soft skills, Are you venturing into that route?
And hence the research, because there has to be, and collecting data as we go along, looking at where these gaps exist and what are we really doing as organizations to fill these gaps. Where are we moving towards and how are we moving there? Do we actually have a plan that we're executing, or we just say, hey, I heard you talking about time management, can you come in? Oh, that's great, I definitely want to. But is there something else that you really needed? Is it, you know, a haphazard approach? So those are some of our research that we'll definitely be doing.
I just wanted to, because you mentioned that you don't like the word manager. So you don't like that word, and I think that that word actually separates the people rather than put us all together, and then from there we go to the same spot that we want to go. Is it, especially in a workplace, do I refer to the person as, hey boss, what do you go on, boss? Or boss, what I need to do next? What I have to do next? Is that a right approach?
No, it's not. There is this concept called intent-based leadership. And it's really a new concept that many organizations have not. Your style of leadership can't be fixed. It has to be dependent on who you're dealing with and at what level they are. You can't manage everybody the same way, right? John could be left alone to just give him some instruction and John is gone. Marlene, on the other hand, might need to, be, and that's not, I'm just using that. And John is shining this morning. But you have to adopt and you have to adjust to the needs of your people so that your organizational goals are met. It's sad to see that many leaders in the organization are the ones who are holding back and restricting the organization from growing, and then they're wondering, why aren't we growing? And that's a sad reality, but the awareness.
And even buying into vision. Like Simon Sinek, the author, man, his concepts of people buying into the why, which is such an important part of human nature. We attach to things based on what they mean and what they represent for us. And when you as a leader can't share that vision with everyone, then you don't have that buy-in. Are we seeing, I mean, you got to give me something here. Are we seeing a change? Because when I see these things, I said, man, Belize could go a long way if people just read these books.
Some organizations are seeing the change, but some of them are not embracing it. They know what needs to be done, but change management in itself is a whole other 2-hour topic, right? And so making that transition really and truly, so all of that is where we find working with organizations. We lead them process. It doesn't have to be a big shift. Let's start with this. Don't be intimidated by your empowered employees, because that's one of the challenges that we find a lot. You come, you know too much. That's a problem. No, we want people who know a lot, because it means that we can use you not just in the area that you have come to serve, but in so many other areas, right? And that's what we're finding with the millennials.
Definitely.
They know stuff. Why are we not using them?
And they know their demographics.
Of course.
Exactly, right?
Of course. And that's the thing, because
we got to get into time management.
Let's get into it. Let's
manage our time, because this is why we're here. But just want to say, you're online. People can get that information. We'll share it in the end of the show. But today, you're giving us a crash course. So if you're at home struggling with time management issues, maybe you haven't identified it as a time management issue, we're going to talk about it this morning. So Sherlet, tell us, where do we start?
Well, we start by, first of all, recognizing that you can't really manage time. You manage the activities in your day and in your life in relation to time. Whether you manage time or not, you'll have 24 hours. You can't add a single minute, second to your day. 24 hours is 24 hours. So forget about managing that. If somebody can do it, awesome. But what we talk about is managing your activities in relation to time. That's key. And so to do that, there are 2 things you need to be doing. One, you need to have a goal. If you don't have a goal, time is of no essence to you. You will waste a lot of time because maybe your goal is just to see how long you can sleep each day or how late you can get to work or watch 100 movies on Netflix this week. So if that's your goal, you good. You can go get your coffee and start watching your Netflix now. But if your goal is bigger than that, and we should all have big goals and big visions and big dreams and things we want to achieve, because those are the things that will wake us up, you need to be managing your time.
It's amazing that you say that as a starting point, because I wonder how many people actually set personal goals or professional goals. I think it happens as you get older, but if you start older, you're already behind.
Exactly. It has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah.
But in order to manage time, the second thing you need to do besides setting your goal is being time aware. Where does my time go? That's a question everybody should be asking themselves. Where does my time go? And where should my time go? And the way to do that, I've come up with
a
time management worksheet.
All right, let's check it out.
A worksheet. And this you can download from the internet. There are many templates. And you might say, but I don't have time to monitor my time. No, this doesn't mean you're sitting there all day and say, okay, I drank coffee 2 minutes. I, brush my teeth. No, you don't need to stop every minute in your day to log it. Just be aware. At some point in your day or at the end of the day, you sit down and you say, okay, getting ready for work, 7 to 9, I got up. And you log that for a week. For a week you sit down and you just become aware of how you're spending your time.
That's training yourself.
That's training, yes. And then you look at that. And if it doesn't scare you,
be honest with yourself. It's much like budgeting. You got to do that money audit first to see where your money's going. Then you realize, oops, I spend extra hair.
Exactly. You need to be aware. And then you need to now transfer that data into something manageable.
Okay.
So when you look at your data now, you're thinking to yourself, okay, am I wasting time? And so you look at, what are some of those time wasters in my log? Because you need to personalize it. Nobody should be telling you you're wasting time. You personalize it, and you look at those data and you say, okay, I can do. And then you identify some of those time wasters.
So what's key here, because I'm imagining people are at home thinking, man, I'm going to fit in more time for work or whatever it is. But it depends on the goal. Because if my goal is I need to spend more quality time with my family, which some people struggle with, you can be able to even identify those types of time.
Exactly. You can. It's across the board, whatever your goal is. And it doesn't have to be tied to just work. It can be tied to, like you said, spending more time with your family, quality time, maybe more interaction with friends that bring that quality to you. But
of course,
it starts at your goal, whatever your goal is. So you need to know what your priorities are and what is important to you. And so let's look at some of those time wasters.
Absolutely.
High on the list is procrastination. And that is one that I think if most people are honest, they struggle with. Right? You procrastinate. You have something to do. It's probably due on Friday. So maybe, so you don't start. Today's Monday. And then so Monday's like, and then Tuesday, I start looking at it. So how do you beat procrastination, nip it in the bud, really, is something that a lot of people struggle with. And Parkinson's talk about that. There's Parkinson's law. And it's so easy to apply.
All right.
It's so easy to apply.
How easy?
Really. We can go to that slide. Because what Parkinson's talk about is in relation to time.
Okay.
That the amount of time that you allot to do an activity, that's the time it will take. So if you give yourself a week to cut the yard, it's going to take a week. So you need to then create that artificial urgency. You have to create the fire.
Artificial urgency.
You create the fire.
So what you're doing, or you're putting fake deadlines.
Yes, you're telling yourself, I need to be done with this task by Wednesday. Yeah. By Wednesday. And so Wednesday become the urgency.
The urgency.
Not Friday when the paper is due, their students. Yeah. Wednesday.
But at this particular point now, this starts because you've already taken that week to track your time. Because look, if I know that I'll put in my fake deadline, I'm gonna do it by Wednesday. Wednesday comes or Tuesday comes, and I'll say, you know what? I'm just putting this to myself. Simply means that I'm lacking in discipline.
Exactly.
And Sherlet, quickly, and I've said this already. Yeah, you look like the lady. And I've said this already, that the biggest excuse for procrastination is the excuse of I work better under pressure.
Yeah.
How do you nip that in the bud?
You don't, because that is indeed a fact. That most people work. So this is why.
So it's reality.
We're wired differently. Some people do need that added pressure.
Exactly.
But that's why you say put other deadlines.
Some people put too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
You unrealistically assume that you need 24 hours to do this task.
Yeah.
And you're not doing your best in 24 hours, because had you spent 48 hours, you would have gotten a far better result.
Yeah.
So the pressure is indeed a factor, but you want to be careful to balance that pressure, that it doesn't become so stressful that it's overwhelming to you now and you're feeling so stressed. So it can't be the overnight before. If it's due on Wednesday, then you need to start by Tuesday. If you want to get the best result, you can probably start on Wednesday and still get a good result, you know.
Yeah.
But again, what is it that you're trying to achieve? In our organization, it's excellence, and excellence can't be had overnight.
So that goal has to be solid, that's what you're continuously focusing on.
And you push yourself. But the idea is that you don't need a week.
Yeah.
Don't give yourself a week.
I like what you're doing. It's like tricking the system. So you're saying you work better under pressure. And I understand, because what John is saying, type A people won't get it. Like, if you have a type A personality, naturally, this is not a problem for you.
Exactly.
You'll have other issues, but not this one.
Exactly.
Because just naturally, your personality is wired to go that way. You get it, you do it. That's who you are. But for those who struggle, you're saying give yourself an opportunity to feel that sense of urgency by putting in a different deadline for
yourself.
Create
the fire, because when the fire is near, you don't have time to think about anything else. You can't even grab anything. It's like the focus is on the fire. So you have to create the fire, create the sense of urgency, so that you can get it done.
And the discipline comes from that goal.
Yes, because it's self-discipline as well. Self-discipline, self-control. If there's a fire at your door, you're not posting on Instagram. You're not, you're dealing with the fire,
of course.
right? So you eliminate all of those distractions. Procrastination is one. We know social media has become one of the biggest distractions ever, and that's a personal one. People need to learn how to manage social media. So it's not, because it has affected employers and employees in so many ways. It's unthinkable. You go into organizations and people have their phone and they're on their phone at the front desk. And I'm like, nobody can't be monitoring you all day. You need to be aware that this is a distraction.
And this is when it comes that the employee would actually take away the social media time, and then the employers do that. Then the employees, they get upset and say that, you know what, the workplace is not being fair.
Exactly, right? You need to manage it. I advocate for opening the social media, because there's so much that you can learn as well from having it available to your employees. But they need to learn to manage. Again, what is your goal? What is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? You need to be aware of that at all times. There are some distractions like busy. Some people don't realize that that's a distraction. You would see people and there's you can't get to see them because they're either always on the phone, they're running from one meeting to the next, they're book solid, right? And that's another principle that we look at. We call it the Eisenhower Matrix. Most people know it as the urgent important matrix, right? And it's looking at what are your priorities? What are those things you can eliminate? What are those things you can delegate? And so again, looking at your audit of how you're spending your time, you need to go in there and find where are you going to put all those activities?
So I want to go to the next one because I think this is an interesting one. Managing interruptions, because that's external. That has very little to do with me in some ways, because I can't control when my phone rings. If I can't control who comes to my office, I can't control if there's someone who comes from outside to see or meet with me, and that alone has already thrown my schedule off. So how do you manage that?
You do. And you see, in this world, again, it goes back to your goals.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer your phone every single time it rings. But then again, if you want
or
to be
every message in the WhatsApp group.
Exactly, right? So the phone rings, you look at it, there's a caller ID. You even have the option to switch it off and say, I'll call you later.
Yeah.
There's an auto message.
Yeah.
So you're not really ignoring the person.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends don't like to call me. They say, text me, and then I'll get back to you. Because it means I can't stop in the middle of my day. Like, if my phone rings right now, will I answer it? No, because so you have to manage how you respond to these devices and to interruptions. Somebody comes to the door. It's okay to be able to say to them, can we reschedule? Can we reschedule? I'll be free between 12:30 and 1. Can you come back then? Some people might feel offended, but you had set your goal for that day. You've made a plan, and you need to be achieving that. Remember, that's the key. If you're not planning your day, then somebody else will plan it for you, right? An extended lunch break might look attractive if you didn't have something already slot in your day for that time. One of the other things is like saying no. Like you already have your plan, which is tied to your goal, which is tied to your vision and the things you want to achieve. And then, it's like, we can do a whole
other show on that one.
Exactly, right? So you need to be able to say no. You have to manage, and people will understand over time. You might lose some friends, but that's okay. Because Pareto is saying that 80% of those friends don't really add value to your life anyway, right? And that might be, and so it's not to say, hey, go now and eliminate your friends. But you need to start deciding how much time you're going to spend with these friends.
So
I think the phone thing is also really critical because we don't realize it. So there was a study that was done recently, and it's fascinating because they tested the productivity level that you have. Did you know that in order to you lose productivity by just your phone being in the same room?
Yes.
And to be able to really focus, it's better for women to have it in another room and men in their pockets. Because the sheer fact that it is there, you've lost productivity.
Exactly.
It's fascinating.
It is a fact. And it's okay to have your phone somewhere else. You can always go and check every half hour. Say, I'll go and check my phone. Keep it on silent as well. Because it means that the ringing won't automatically attract you to go and pick up the phone. Keep it on silent. You have to keep focus. Productivity.
Well, this part is this is actually a part of training for your time management.
Yes,
but I wanted to touch because there are some people that would tell you, what, one of my joys or how I feel happy is when people feel happy. So I'm not necessarily focusing on myself. It comes across as that. So I want to ask you that while I'm tracking my time management or doing my time management, there are a few things I might lose, but it's okay. Friendship is one of them. Can you tell us a few more? And this is important because if I want to get this done, I need to be disciplined. I need to make sure that I understand what time management is. So we lose friendship.
Before I say what else we lose time, of course. But you have to recognize in which business you're in, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to spend quality time with your friends and you want to be available for them. But you can't, you simply cannot. There are some people who are outing fires and managing crises all day long, and not their crisis either. Somebody else, and then they go home and they feel drained and they say, but they need me. What will they do without me? I don't know. But go see.
Well, they'll never learn to out the fires on their own.
Exactly. And then it's the same issues over and over, and you're counseling on the same issue. So it's a matter of your values, what you value. If friendship is what you value, you're saying you're losing out on other things. But again, go back to your goals. Go back to your goals. Your friends will understand.
They will understand.
You make time for them. It's like, okay, I'll call you 7 tonight when I'm done making dinner. You know, and then you do that. So you're not ignoring, but you're postponing. And maybe when you call 7, they'll say, you know, I sorted it out already. I was able to find a solution, right?
Which is wonderful.
Exactly. But you should never be satisfied at the end of the day to look at the things you've set out to achieve.
You don't want this, which is what many of us do.
Exactly, right? And this is a reality. That's the 80-20. Some people like to use it in terms of relationship, and I could never understand why. Because really and truly, it's not a relationship principle. But it appears everywhere in life. You use 80%, 20% of your shoe. You use 20% of your clothes the most. The other 80% really is just filling up the closet. Right?
That's not true.
So you need to find that 20% that is directly related to your goals. What is it that's giving me the returns? And for you, if it's, you know, entertaining your friends or making them happy, then that's fine. But it goes back again to your goals. What is it you're trying to achieve?
So I love what you're offering us here in terms of how to get there. And the Eisenhower Matrix is really one of the ways to differentiate. Because one of the first things you're suggesting we need to teach ourselves is the difference between urgent and important. And what's urgent isn't always important, and what's important isn't always urgent.
Exactly.
Help us here. Put it into perspective.
For a lot of leaders, you will find, like I said, meetings, phones. A lot of these things you could either delegate, plan, or manage. You don't need to be at all these meetings. Again, what is your goal? Can you send somebody else? And then they give you a synopsis of the meeting. But that idea of being important is so precious to some of us, you know, that we attend all the meetings and then we're always busy, right? So you need to look at that. Some phone calls you can really delegate. You can transfer them to somebody else, and somebody else can deal with that issue. You can plan your time so that there are things that if you don't plan, they're not urgent now, but they become urgent. Those are things like your medical checkups yearly. You know, you have a nagging headache. I need to go to the doctor. Let me plan that. It's not urgent now, but if you don't deal with it, it becomes urgent. You know, your personal issues, your finances, you know, I need to work on this. It soon becomes urgent.
They are important.
So, but they're not urgent.
But
so you need to categorize these things.
So what you do is put it in a quadrant.
And you put it in a quadrant, right? There are things you eliminate right off. You don't. I usually start there. Start there with the stuff you can eliminate.
We have a chart if you could show it so people can see what we're talking about.
You just eliminate those time wasters. That's what they're called. And you really need to eliminate those. Just get them off. And then you move to your...
So those are the things that are not urgent and
they're not important. They're not urgent, they're not important. You get rid of them. Right. And then you move to delegate. What are these things that are important?
Here we go.
Yes. They're not important, but they're urgent, right? And we call it the quadrant of deception, right? So there's some mails report. Again, are these things that somebody else can be doing, right? Are these things interruptions, again, some calls? And then you want to focus on your not urgent but important, right? And we give some examples. Exercise. It might seem, you know, but this is not
and we love
urgent.
But it's one here, right?
Oh no, it belongs there, right? Because then health issues develop, etc., and so it becomes urgent, right? And so all those things that you would have been focusing on needs to stop now, and you have to be focusing on your medical issues. So you really need to be aware. You know, there are so many tools, techniques, activities that you can use if you're only time aware to manage your time. It's so important. There are people who are late to every single event, function, even their funeral, I believe, because it's, you know, it's just, and then they rush in, interrupt everybody else. You know, it's like, no man, plan ahead.
Yeah.
Plan ahead. I need to be there first, and you plan ahead.
Yeah.
It's planning. It's really planning, and keeping your eyes on your goals.
So when you look at this chart and you've put in what's urgent, what's important, what's urgent, not important, and you go through all of that. Let's say you do a to-do list for today. Where do you start?
You look at your to-do list and you look at your urgent, important.
Yeah.
Because the only thing with this matrix, it doesn't assign time.
Yeah.
So you need to also be deciding how long you're going to spend on what. Because it could be urgent and important, but if you're spending too much time on it.
If you still do all day just doing that.
Exactly. Then you're not being effective at all and efficient.
Yeah.
So you need to decide. I use an example with a colleague about doing a research paper or even a presentation. And sometimes just that first slide, because you're looking for the perfect picture, because it needs to look right and fun, and you spend so much time doing that. You need to be aware of that. After you've searched a couple, sites and pictures, settle for one, because it has met its objective. It's really not that important that you spend an entire hour getting that. And those are the things that some types of personalities struggle with, right? You're doing a research, and then next thing you know, 5-6 hours you're still, and then you come back and it's like, okay, where did I start?
Yeah.
And so 6 hours really has gone, and you've
just
not
looking at fun.
Exactly, you've not really come up with anything. So you need to be managing those aspects as well, because you will have a lot on your to-do list and on your plate. A lot of people too, they start so many things and they find they don't finish. And then they're not managing
because
their time.
we're not all innate multitaskers. Some of us need to have that dedicated focus.
Exactly. Try to, as much as you can, finish one thing. Because success breeds success.
Of course.
Right? Completion breeds completion. This was the last one. There's this theory that, and I totally agree,
I do too,
that you can only make so much good decisions per day. And that has an impact on time management. Because the minute you start, losing that, your decision becomes inhibited. You spend far more time trying to get the same result you would have if you had a fresh mind. My kids bring home homework sometime in the evening, and I'm like, this looks so hard. This is elementary. But I am tired. I've used up all my decision for the day. Exactly. But when I get up in the morning, it's fresh again.
You see, and I love this. I read about this one, and one of the things they describe it as, it's like physical strength. So you can be a strong person, but that actually, it wears down over time. If you're lifting heavy boxes, the last box is going to be a lot heavier than the first. So if you're making a lot of decisions, which is why Mark Zuckerberg and some of the top CEOs wear the same things all the time. Because that's one less decision to make
in the morning. Exactly. So when you're getting up and you're checking Facebook and you're answering emails first thing in the morning, be mindful that by the end of the evening you're tired. And did you start attacking your important stuff leading to your goals? Did you? Because you're making decisions.
Did you save that brain power for decisions to come?
So you're depleting, and then you have to go rest and get renewed.
Sherlet, you have only given us a taste of what you can offer us. I have to be honest. We'll share some of these resources online and the ones we didn't get to tackle. But of course, in the meantime, you can be able to contact her through her business and set up your own training for time management or many other things.
Our email is very easy. It's the Belize Institute for Excellence @gmail.com. My phone number is 621-7314. You can find me on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, the Belize Institute for Service Excellence, Leadership and Research. Let's customize your training and let's start growing your organizations for you.
Thank you so much, and we're going to be good with time management and cut it off here. But we really appreciate the conversation.
Indeed.
It was my pleasure indeed. Enjoy the rest of your day, Belize, and be dry.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, Caribbean YouTube sensation will be joining us, Danielle Loveless. So please stay tuned.